When you're speaking to someone, you're also speaking to their parasites. I can understand how people would probably disagree with this. This is a touchy topic. But understand, I'm not speaking on simply mysticism. I'm speaking also on the scientific understanding, observable science, the same. If you look at my past videos, and you can do very basic, simple research and find out how parasites are ancient, intelligent technology. Ancient technology in the wrong hands can be tapped into, especially advanced technology when it comes to vibration frequency, when it comes to the mastery of the atmosphere, the ionosphere, the understanding of like AM frequency, like AM radio, and the ethers. The world is a stage, so they have shown us and indoctrinated us that we are starting to become more evolved when it comes to such technologies that I mentioned that you can easily do a research on for yourself. This world actually is hundreds of thousands of years evolved. And we are living a reset as hybrid beings, as humans. And since birth, being fed that everything that we think and believe has been fed to us. So intelligently that even if you beg to differ and you start going a different route, even if you decide to be the black sheep of the family, oh, they got that covered. As long as you don't awaken, as long as you don't master not just the art, but the requirement of gathering your vital life force again. It's not just inner alchemy. We're talking about inner mastery of your natural state, of who you've always been. And in this school, that can be arguably also a prison or a prism, depending where you are in your evolution, depending how you were seated here, becomes the epigenetics of a filtering sense, allowing you to experience this life. And it's not limited to your five senses. However, this technology has boxed us into our conscious mind. And the conscious mind is not separate from the ego. The ego is not just psychology. The ego is a realm of a frequency, right? That is measurable. That to someone who's into like AI technology, even just a student, they're training and how to take that data and to apply it into a mimicking system in the digital world. Right? They warned us with gaming, right? In the gaming world, there's other realities that exist. Well, now they're indoctrinating a new evolution into our reality. As we're starting to become more awakened, they're allotting us the passageways with the choices of what we do when we start gathering and start possessing our powers again. Once you start acquiring your gifts, you know, not limited to telekinesis and the ability to alter and bend like in the 4D, there's people now that can actually alter physical objects in the 4D. Some of it is BS, but there are a few people who actually are able to and capable. But can I tell you something? It means nothing, because they know how to trap you in the 4D with your gifts and still siphon your vital life force, which brings me back to the beginning of this topic. Parasites emit a certain frequency by nature, just like you do as a human being. Just like the sounds of a river, right? The sounds of a river and the frequency that's emitted in this particular river that I'm nearby is different if I go to the Nile River. It's different if I go to the Mississippi River. There are different ley lines of Mother Earth's energy meridian lines. Not limited to water. So depending on the sound, vibration, capacity, right? Natural resonance, parameters. Even though it's water, a particular river, a particular ley line, L-E-Y, emits a certain frequency in the same way as you do in your own physical embodiment, such as the 12 meridians in your body. And synergistically, your 12 meridians in your body works along with your 8 extra meridians in your body if you're looking classically from TCM or a traditional Chinese medical perspective. However, these pages that I'm speaking of are more of an esoteric side. You would probably have to go into like Taoism, understanding, going deeper into the I Ching, right? The Book of Changes, and deeper. So if you're speaking to someone, have a horrible relationship, you know, your own parents, it could be your own sibling, your own friend. You've probably known them for such a long time. But when you're speaking to them, You're speaking to their parasites the same. Let me explain. Parasites by nature alter the behavior responses of someone from a somatic sense, at least to be able to explain it. It goes so much deeper, and I could even speak so much more superficial as far as symptomology. But this is kind of like meaty, right in the middle, somatic nervous systems, the meaty side of this conversation, which also includes the nervous system, which also includes your 5 sensory systems. It's actually like your vessel on how you actually experience yourself in this world, experience being a person, which is not separate from your stomach. It's not separate from your lungs or your heart, right? And most people think of their heart and their lungs and, you know, that's what you need to breathe and to live. But most people don't think about their stomach. From a TCM perspective, actually, the stomach is where the lung chi or the energetics reside. It doesn't even begin in the lungs. And you would know if you got into like Qigong naturally, not because your teacher told you, or into deeper meditation, but you would feel once you start understanding your own meridian passageways and your own ley lines with complete observation. Once you search, it'll disappear on you. I'm going to tell you right now, you know, or you'll think you have it because you create an entire reality as if this is it. And it may be it and it may not be it because it's going to be convoluted. Because to have pure clarity with what I'm saying, you have to actually be clarity with yourself. And I would say self-sincerity means that you've spent enough time observing yourself until you finally refine your microcosm of what naturally is happening in your body, such as your meridian passageways and the chi that travels and the way it intercommunicates with your system, such as when I said your somatic system as well. And how you can observe as a scientist, seriously, I'm very serious here. As a scientist, you can observe and extract the same ancient information and data that AI does through you as a vessel. I can't prove this to you, but you would understand once you're doing it if you're already doing so. You have to be able to prove that to yourself. And that's why inner alchemists tend not to speak on the mysticism, and that's how mysticism became mystic. Mysticism, yeah. But now, it's not just because we're called the age of information, because this age of Aquarius, but it's also that the density of many mimicking programs that has existed, keeping us dumbfounded within our human experiences, they actually don't exist anymore. It'll feel like they still exist because the shadows that we're left with, right? Some people have to physically die, right? Because they're already older or they're already stuck with their mentality, unfortunately, such as a family member. Can't do anything with them, and that's okay because that's okay because there are warriors, you know what I mean? They have died for this cause. And they'll remember in a new multi-dimensional reality once they die, right? Depending on the person. But someone like you who would attract such a video like this, so I'm speaking to you. Obviously, this message is not for the mass. This is someone who can go beyond rational logic, beyond contemplation, beyond judging, right? And going into the most intimate creative side of what I'm saying, and also based on your experiences, because there's a reason why you're resonating with me. So yeah, these parasites, right? They infiltrate and emit their natural frequency. And your body naturally, just like you can smell, you can see, and you can feel, internally, your body is actually receiving all of that data, right? And it starts re-encoding your experiences. It's very subconscious, I would say unconscious. It's really very deep. And because most people are not capable yet or ready or not willing, to be honest, they are not able to align their inner journey because they're stuck on the outer journey. Again, that's the ego conscious experience, right? It's not just killing your ego. You kill your ego, you're killing your life here too. It's actually re-encoding your ego, just like you re-encode your emotions. Once you refine your emotions and start working alongside your emotions, then you understand the release mechanisms behind emotions to help empower you based on what's going. And sometimes empowerment means dispersing, coming and readjusting and realigning to something. Like somebody physically died in your life. Obviously, you're going to have to grieve for as long as you have to grieve, right? But the whole point is to come to peace with what you already knew was going to happen. You just didn't want to admit it, right? I mean, great-grandma was going to die. I mean, like shit. She was like 101, you know? It was just a matter of time, right? And yet you still grieved. Well, you have to honor that. And that's when you start understanding the intricacies of the instinctual aspect of your emotions, but it's not limited to your instincts. It's also your intuition once you start diving into your power of your emotional embodiment. And that's understanding the root, the sacrum, and your solar plexus and Kung Fu, where that's where your power actually starts to ascend into your higher mind. And it's also an anchoring system, so that when you start arriving with your higher frequencies, if you're into meditation, if you're deep like that, and if you've been following my videos, then we resonate, you know, to some level. And you require the entire harmonics of your seven chakra system. So you don't just eliminate, right? So again, so once you understand that parasites are not good or bad or ugly, as I said in the past video, they can work with your empowerment. In the past video, I explained how you work with ridding of parasites. It's like either the last video or the video before that. But the intent of this message is a little bit more on topic, just to keep the subject line. And if you want to go deeper, if you've never seen my videos before, just go to the past one. You know, it's going to help my shadow blocking algorithm on one of those social media places. I don't want to get flagged 3 times because the stuff that I talk about, I guess, I'm not going to stop talking about it like that. And I'm not going to say for entertainment purposes, even though I just said it. I said it. But that's not my game, bro. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to feed the system. I'm not entertaining anyone. And that shadow band that I have is going to grow the way it has to grow. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. Everything's going to happen divinely. So I'm not going to start playing with the system, because that's the game. So unfortunately, you're speaking to your mom, your grandmom, your uncle, most people in your family, right? Marriage, relationships, and your energy is being drained, let's say, you know, and you have anxiety, or that person has anxiety, right? Person might never be grounded or rooted, cloudy thoughts, right? Inability to hold it together. And you feel like you're doing the same too when you're around that person. It could be at work, it could be anyone, it could be anybody around your biosphere, your aura, anybody around your surroundings. And what happens is that person may have parasites, because what's happening is that the parasites, right, it's not just from biology. Yes, it's biological, where the parasites can actually start giving you a slew of symptoms. Even schizophrenia, you can actually argue it's certain types of parasites, and a lot of doctors can actually pinpoint some of those parasites as it relates to, but it's so much deeper. See, what's happening is that the natural amplification of the parasite that's emitted, symptomology speaking, the person has not yet the ability, or does not want to, right? Because you can actually feed off the parasite the same, because you actually get power from that. And that's another topic. And they're not conscious of it, and what happens is that then they stay within that lower frequency, because there's power in the lower frequency, right? It's not about good or bad or ugly. Energy's energy. Energy doesn't lie. It's just a matter of where you're at, and what satiates you, or what fills you up, what fills your belly. If you eat meat, you're gonna eat meat, right? You want your meat bloody, you want it bloody. What are you gonna do? That's like something that you're hungry for, right? That's what your stomach is saying, right? The stomach is not thinking morality. And you feel what I'm saying? No different than a tiger and a lion, right? But we are not aware that tigers and lions are actually very evolved. And unfortunately, it's going to sound like philosophy books. And I'm not going to go there, but that's the problem, is that here on Earth, we are seeing the animals that are not evolved, right? Or the black sheep of the family who chose the dark side. Or they're in school just like us, you know? Not limited to animals. I'm talking about plants, trees, all species here, as an example. So when you're speaking to someone and you feel drained, you feel disheartened, right? The person stabbing you in the back, and you're like wondering, what the heck is that? That's not entirely them. They're being consumed by a parasite. But this is the part that gets me. This is the part. The parasite by itself can do this, but the parasite, using advanced technology, is actually being amplified to mind manipulate you through your somatic nervous system, through your biosphere, which is also your electromagnetic field that you emit. And all of that energy is actual data that can be manipulated without your consent. Just like if I'm playing a song right next to you, you could say, I don't consent to you singing. Even if you block your ears, you're still going to receive the harmonics and the vibration of the song. You might feel ill, or you may want to like curse me out, right? You see how I disturb your emotions? You know, like a Karen. right? Karens are not right. Karens are Karens, right? But they got something. They're on something because there's something that's like really bothering them. Their parasites are trying to take them, and that's their attempt in trying to fight against the parasite. So you can't judge a Karen. It's just a Karen's not seen or understood. And I know Karens because I used to treat them in the treatment room. And once I start to understand their language, you can actually help them if they're wanting and willing and able to be helped. Because you no longer see the person, you start seeing the language of the parasite. And sometimes you have to know that language. And a lot of healers, that's why they had to deal with narcissists and a lot of crummy experiences, because that was necessary to change one's natural ability to work with the language, with what the world is going through and what the world is shedding, as an example. So yeah, if you want to go more into parasites, look at my previous video. I think it's the last 2 videos ago. And that's why, like, biblically they say don't judge others. You know, it's not about not judging. It's about becoming a true inner alchemist and understanding, are you able and capable of seeing that person's not entirely there, or they might be fighting inner demons, right? And they may be parasitic, and the spiritual war that's happening right now, it's not making it any easier. And the more powerful that person is, the more parasites they will attract. And yes, in the spirit realm, they did agree for that assignment. And yes, people like them are so powerful, they can actually bring them into their vessel. And so that's why, in a sense, they once they start healing, they do receive judgment, in a sense. It's kind of weird, but the judgment is actually something that they bring upon themselves in the higher frequency world. It's not like God saying you're being judged. No, come on, stop. I don't want to talk about that anymore. I've done that already in past videos. Just got mad at myself. It's necessary to, it's like a wash. It's a spiritual wash. It's like there's nothing left to judge once you heal. Having said that, advanced technologies, bioweapons, from a nuclear perspective, they intelligently are using you to experiment, to change your behaviors, to change not just perspectives, not just your emotional state, but your reality. For when you are just simply in your conscious mind, right, the illusion of your conscious experience, it's no different than when you're in a dream here in the 3D. And because most people are not aware of their astral realms, they haven't yet mastered who they truly are, above and beyond, not separate from your conscious sense of existence. Until you see that, or at least until one sees that, then you become victimized. There are high-level frequency attacks that can work from your lowest chakra even to your highest chakra, all the way down from your genitalia. Perversities, distorted thoughts, being the pawn and betraying someone, or being the one betraying others. It's not about the one-on-one to them. It's about anybody that emits a certain frequency that will disturb, as a glitch, the reality. Because the reality that we all experience, we are the core. Without us, it doesn't exist. So they need us to stay as batteries to technology. And you're minimally a battery. So they keep you small and minimal. They keep you aspiring. So they send you to school. They don't send you to train to remember who you are. And it takes millennia, generations, for these distortions to finally come to fruition. Yes, we are here, and we can't be stopped. Not in flesh or in form body. And because of that, they're going to send their final advanced product into fruition as well. Because they know they can't have us. They know they can't do anything with us. So they're trying to separate those that they can. And unfortunately, we can't help those. But if you stay within the biosphere, within those loved ones that we can't help, and you're not able to inner alchemize your highest timeline. Every day, you're left to make your next move until you're able to dismantle the entire game. So unfortunately, when you connect with somebody with parasites, the reason why you're bothered by that person and you start receiving these symptoms as if like you're feeling like crap, it's because your biosphere is being infiltrated the same just by being within their bio. And once you connect through quantum entanglement, right, theory, quantum entanglement theory, once you connect with that person just one time, so you gotta be careful of who you're in a relationship with. Seriously, you have to, because it doesn't matter how many cleanses that person takes. It can take an entire life for that frequency and that quantum entanglement to kind of like cable cut. Cord cutting is not always that easy. I think people misunderstand cord cutting. And what happens is that as that person suffers, you're feeling it too. And the stronger your emotional connection with that person, or your stronger past lives connection with that person, best believe you don't need the physical parasite to kind of like infiltrate your reality. So it's not about them. It's not about the parasite. It's about you. It's about once you remember that you are a receiver and you're able to change your channel and rise your frequency. It's always unconditional love. Then the parasites, the environment, ceases to exist. There's nothing or no one to fight. It's not about judgment. It's about reassessing and realigning. And then that's when you start being grateful to the parasites, to the people, and to your experiences, because your biosphere was susceptible, and now your biosphere, your aura, your somatic nervous system becomes wiser to higher ranking spiritual attacks on your end, which is going to happen to you. And in your case, you're going to be like, I'm an alchemist. Seriously. And when the going gets tough and tough gets going, as they always say, you learn how to take even lead and convert it to gold. It's you're the wealth, you're the currency. That's when you start becoming completely grateful that for you to have a high resonance field naturally. And if you attract these kind of parasites and these people and these interactions, that's when you go into your meditation and you completely reveal self-gratitude to yourself, because that shows who you are. So you're being chiseled and you're morphing. And this is how you're regathering your self-mastery to not just having the gifts that you're given just because you're psychic. Everybody could be psychic at this point. Seriously. That's 4D technology. All you need is technology now. You don't even need to be psychic. You know, it's like a video game. Because the quantum realm and you and the universe are not separate. You just think it. And for as long as you're thinking, then you're thinking that you have a war to fight against parasites and other humans. No, you came here to heal yourself by no longer requiring to be healed, because you re-encoded the healing element, which is another program. And by doing so for you, to you, by you, then the community, the environment around you changes. The parasites live in harmony and they start working with other beings that need to be awakened or more conscious the same. And you start seeing now from a distance, and you're able to now observe how nature works. And if you're judging things and people and environments, then you're going to be just as stuck as that person. You know?